Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo, and I am joined today by my two crusty-eyed co-hosts. To my right, it is the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello.
And behind the computer, just jegging off, it is Bruce, the tugboat Venditti.
What does that even mean? What's up?
Tug or nut?
Tugging away. Well, it's week 3 of the NFL season. We had a, I would say, interesting Thursday night football game. It wasn't really all that exciting, but
Pretty shitty, actually.
it was
Boring as fuck.
it was somewhat interesting to say the least. Highlights of the game: Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, David Njoku. And if you notice,
Steelers.
those are all Cleveland Browns because the Steelers didn't really do much. I guess if you had to pick a highlight for the Steelers, it would be the George Pickens repeating Odell Beckham's layback one-handed catch that's behind us.
I honestly think it's better.
You know what? It might have been better. He was horizontal.
Yeah.
My man was practically laying on the ground
He
when
was
he caught
horizontal
that
and
ball.
caught that football. It was truly.
It wasn't like a jump up, reach back for it.
It was. I'm going to
just
lay down
yeah.
and catch the football. It was pretty.
That
awesome.
was nice how he tracked that. That's got to be just impossible to do. But that's today's game. Today's game is about finesse and athleticism.
The question that's on everybody's mind after that game: when is Mike Tomlin going to make the move to Kenny Pickett? Because
He needs to.
what we have seen thus far from Mitch Trubisky was in week 1, he looked kind of for real. And then after that, Mitch Trubisky came back. Trubisky was 20 for 32 for 200 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, and was sacked once. Obviously, that is not going to get the job done in today's NFL. Granted, their defense didn't play well either. I mean, they let the Browns put up 29 on them. Nick Chubb essentially ran at will. And Jacoby Brissett had a decent game. There was no picks. He didn't make that many mistakes. Chubb, 23 rushes, 113 yards, and a tud. Brissett, 21 of 31, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, here's the thing.
He's serviceable.
He's serviceable. He's serviceable enough to get the job done. In that division, I don't think you're going to see that many 400-yard passing games. It's going to be more of a ground attack.
Yeah.
And Nick Chubb so far this year has just been.
Oh, he's lights out.
He's lights out. I mean, He has the patience of Le'Veon Bell. The guy chops his legs like a rodeo bull. The way he runs the ball has been so effective so far this year. On the other hand, Amari Cooper, I don't know what the Steelers' game plan was for him, but he was just open always.
Yes.
And I was reading an article yesterday, and I saw, for some reason the Steelers played him like most teams play Cooper Kupp, where they're just like, we're going to double cover everybody else in the field and let this guy run wild.
Basically, let him run through. It's almost like a zone.
Right. Just let him run through everybody. And if he's the only guy catching the ball, then God bless. But that wasn't how it worked. David Njoku came to light last night or on Thursday night. And you know what's funny is I missed it in our fantasy frenzy episode, but I had David Njoku as a pickup target, and I somehow skipped right over him. 9 receptions on 10 targets, 89 yards, and a touchdown. And as we know, as far as tight ends go that aren't named Andrews or Kelsey, that is a great game for a tight end.
Absolutely.
These were just bouncing right off of him.
They were. I mean, he
wasn't even moving that fast.
No, but I mean,
It was just
And Amari
bouncing.
Cooper, I made that call. You fantasy owners, if you listen to me and put Amari Cooper in, you're a happy guy.
Yeah.
You're a happy guy today.
I agree with that. I think the Steelers have more problems than just Trubisky, though. Even though Pickens had that incredible catch, he only had 3 receptions for 39 yards.
When you're 1 of 9 on third downs, and that's what they were,
Yeah.
you're not going to do shit. You got to convert third downs in this league.
But
even with Mitch Trubisky standing on his heels.
Even with him standing on his heels, yes.
the biggest problem for them is the fact that their defense cannot get pressure. Their defense, they look like a whole different team without TJ Watt out there. It's actually kind of jarring to see the difference that they are from week 1 with TJ Watt till now. The whole defense just doesn't look put together anymore. I mean, they did get to Brissett twice, but
wasn't that just one dude?
I'm pretty sure it was just Highsmith, like you said, that had the sacks. I'll double check that, but
I mean, they weren't even hitting hard. It just looked like they were.
Yeah, it was Highsmith with 1.5 sacks, but they have no run stop ability. Their secondary,
and that surprises me because they got Miles Jack.
Miles Jack was an absolute tackle machine.
I mean, I think really more of an issue right now with them is there's no leadership on this team. Trubisky's not the answer. The defense is without their best player, and they're just in disarray. And what point does Tomlinson say, you know what, we're not going to do anything this year. We know it. I get it. We're only going into the 3rd game of the year, and it's ugly. It's ugly. They'll be lucky to finish 500.
Yeah, well,
they'll be lucky.
You know, Miles Jack, like you said, 35 total tackles through the first 3 games.
Yes.
So I mean, he's taking the blunt of
averaging 11 tackles a game.
Yeah, he's taking the blunt of the load for that defense. But I agree with that. There's no leadership. They don't look very inspired at the moment.
It's almost like they know that this is a rebuild.
Yeah.
And you think guys would be playing for their fucking positions, and they're not. It just looks that it almost looks like Tomlinson's losing these guys.
Well, it'll be interesting. Obviously, that's in that division now. You know, you have the Browns at 2-1, the Steelers at 1-2.
They got lucky. They won that first game against Cincinnati. They should have lost that game.
Yeah, realistically,
to be honest with you,
what, a 1-point win late against Cincinnati. That division now is just
it's wide open. I think it's Baltimore's division.
It's Baltimore's division to lose at the moment.
Yeah. At this moment.
Yeah.
3rd game in. What are you going to do?
Shockingly, and I know this is going to catch a lot of you off guard. My game of the week this week
surprised me.
Comes in Minneapolis, where our own Detroit Lions go to face Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Now, obviously, the Vikings were pretty ugly in their Monday night game last week. And I'll tell you what, the Philadelphia Eagles gave them everything they had. And it was ugly. They lost 24-7 on Monday night against Philadelphia. But I found a very, very interesting tidbit of information.
You know, it's actually, I just have the internet open and it's actually right here as well.
Yeah, if you any sort of quick research about this game will show you articles that say, are the Lions playing Kirk Cousins on Sunday or are they playing Aaron Rodgers? And essentially, here's the quirk about this. At home, Kirk Cousins has played a full season's worth of games with the Vikings in the 1:00 window. At home. Since 2019, his stat line at home at 1:00, he's 366 for 523, 4,506 yards, 38 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a passer rating of 110, which, funny enough, is actually better than Aaron Rodgers' 2021 MVP winning stats, where he went 366 for 531, 4,115 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions with a passer rating of 111. So what we can take from this is the way Kirk Cousins plays on Sundays at 1:00 in Minnesota, is essentially MVP caliber compared to his primetime games, where on Monday nights he's 2-10 with an 85 passer rating and 3-5 with a 91 passer rating on Thursdays. And he threw for 87 yards the last time he played on Sunday Night Football. So what we can take from this is Kirk Cousins is most likely going to come out and play very, very well on Sunday.
Well, I'll say this. They were at home for Philadelphia, and they got their tanks handed to them.
No, they were at Philly.
Oh, they were at Philly?
Correct.
I thought they were at home.
They're at Philly at night. So evidently, if you are a fantasy owner and you own Kirk Cousins, unfortunately, like I do, next time he plays in a primetime game, don't play him. But if he is playing in Minnesota on a Sunday at 1 o'clock, you will play him. And realistically, I'm starting him this week against the Lions. And a couple of things that I really like about this game, Minnesota's a 6-point favorite. I personally think that's a lot of points.
I'll take the Lions and the points.
I will take the Lions +6 as well. The over-under on this game is 52.5.
Okay. I'm going to go over.
One I would take the under on.
I'm going to agree with Bruce. Now, even
I'll
though
take the over.
both of these teams have showed in various different points this year that they can put up points.
But the
Oh,
fact
I
that
could see them both putting up 30,
yeah, but
30
the fact
this
that
week.
they're both good at putting up points would balance them out to
I'll say
not
this.
necessarily
Last
put up
week,
that many.
the Lions defense played well. Minnesota's defense played very well against Green Bay. So what I'm seeing here is essentially two teams that are probably going to run the ball very well. I'm seeing two defenses that are both going to give each other a hard time. And I see the edge being slightly in the favor of Minnesota just because their skill players are obviously better than the Lions. Dalvin Cook hasn't had his real big coming out game yet.
Not yet.
I think that this week he could probably blow it up pretty well.
Justin Jefferson is the key.
Justin Jefferson.
He's the key. As you see, Philadelphia put a lasso around him. He couldn't do anything.
Here's the
That's not going to happen this week.
well, exactly. This
And
is the
this
big
guy's
question.
going to go off again.
The Lions have to really strategize this game well because Minnesota has more than just Justin Jefferson. That's the thing. Adam Thielen is still there. They made a big trade for Jalen Reagor. So here's the
He
thing.
played pretty well.
Do you put your best corner on Justin Jefferson and let him burn him all day? Or do you double cover Justin Jefferson and pray that Adam Thielen and the rest of their receiving core
Doesn't
isn't
off.
as good as you think they are and can beat you?
Well, I watched Green Bay try to zone Jefferson, and you seen what happened there.
Correct. And
But Thielen hasn't had his coming out party yet either.
well, and I think Thielen is past the point of having a coming out party. Thielen is
He's
one of the
a
better
solid
complementary
pro.
receivers.
That if they're going to roll their coverage toward Jefferson, you're going to see Thielen wide open,
Yeah.
and he'll be catching some balls this week.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say nobody in the Lions secondary is going to have an answer for Justin Jefferson. But
I think that's safe to say.
I think Minnesota is going to make more mistakes in this game than they have so far this year. Against Philly, they did not look good. Their offense did not look good. Philly was able to shut down the run.
And they
Philly
were
was
able to get to Kirk Cousins.
And they were able to get to Kirk Cousins. And I think the Lions defense will probably be able to get to Kirk Cousins a little bit this week.
Yeah, they got a chip on their shoulder. This is a division game. And
They need this
lost
game.
to Philly.
They can win this game. They slide in the first place.
Yeah.
So
The winner of this game is in first place.
Yeah.
I think
bottom
ultimately Minnesota will win. I'm going to take the under because I think that even though the Lions have put up a lot of points so far this year, I mean, Jesus,
You can't trust this team yet.
you
We're not into trusting this
I've been
team.
seeing
yet.
too much.
I agree.
I've been seeing too much about the Lions and people on social media. It's like we need to slow the fuck down. We're talking about the Lions. Talking about the Lions.
Talking about the Lions.
All right. Yes, they're playing good, but come on, we're playing the Vikings at home. Like, let's calm.
Lions have put up
down.
almost 80 points already this year.
I know, but we need just
What's impressed me is Goff right now, dude.
Goff's playing.
Goff's playing out of his mind right now. He has
Okay,
6
hold on.
touchdowns
Yeah.
and 1 pick.
Let's not say
6
out of
touchdowns,
his
1 pick
mind. Let's not say out of his
through
mind.
2 games. That's pretty damn good.
He's playing well.
That's pretty damn good.
But here's the thing.
he's playing.
This could be the game where the wheels completely come off.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if he has a Cousins-like game, it could.
Okay, but
Cousins threw 3 picks last
I'll
week.
say this much.
You know they're gonna go towards Amon-Ra St. Brown, so
Right, you know they're going
that
to throw.
completely shuts him down.
I get that. You know what? I don't think the Vikings have anybody to cover him, to be honest with you.
Well, here's what I'll say.
This Patrick Peterson's on him.
I lost a little bit of faith in the Vikings until I'm a superstitious dude, okay? And I believe this shit about how Kirk Cousins, for some reason, shits the bed on fucking in primetime games. And at 1 o'clock at home,
I think it's more of Kirk Cousins being like Tony Romo. During the season, these guys put up great numbers. The problem is, come playoff time, they shit the bed.
well,
And
We're not talking about
that's been
playoff.
going on for
talking about
decades.
playoff
talking
time.
about
We're
Well, it's been
about
going on for 10 years with Kirk Cousins.
Yes, but we're talking
This
about primetime games.
Yeah, but this is the same guy that we're talking about right now.
I'm aware. And
Yeah.
after I watched that game, I was like, oh, the Vikings are exactly what I thought they were. They're just boring and shitty and all of the above. But I read that, and then if you actually look at it and break it down, as long as they don't have to play at night, they look great. So as it stands right now, I'm going to take the Vikings to win the game outright. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle. I think DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, along with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison, are all going to have very nice games. I think both quarterbacks are going to get knocked around quite a bit, and I don't think there's going to be 52 points. I think you could see a 21-17 kind of game, and that's what I'm going to go off of. Vikings win at home 21-17 against the Lions in a great, hard-fought NFC North battle. A lot of running the ball, a lot of pounding ground, and it'll be a great football game to watch right down to the end. Hopefully. I could be wrong, and the Lions could end up blowing them out by 21, but again, I'm not there yet. Moving on from my game of the week to my absolute shit show of the week, the Houston Texans go to Soldier Field to play they're not even a football team, but the Chicago Bears. And you want to know what's fucked up? The fact that you look at this team's won a game against San Francisco. Okay? I'm going to be brutally honest.
but with Trey Lance.
I'm going to be brutally honest with you. Justin Fields, the more and more...
The numbers speak for itself. He's 15 of 28 for 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
And that's not in...
15 of 28.
That's not in the first half
garbage.
of a football game. That is in 2 full football games.
That's in 2 full games. He's
Quarterback
garbage.
rating under 70.
He threw
Okay?
for 70 yards last week. Come on, dude.
This team is in full-on, 5-alarm, just absolute fucking shit show.
I like the Texans. I like the Texans in this game.
Well,
I don't know what the points were.
Chicago is a 3-point favorite.
Chicago.
Over-under is 39 points.
I like the Texans.
Over-under is 39 points. I'll say this much. So far, the Texans tied with Indy, who got goose-egged last week by 20, and then lost to Denver 16-9.
In the last seconds of that game, because they were actually playing real well in that game, too.
The Bears beat San Francisco in an absolute monsoon, 19-10 in the flukiest
That was a fluke.
fucking game
That
of
was
the
a
year.
fluke.
And came out and got absolutely shit on by Green Bay 27-10 last week. So I'll say this: as far as the over/under goes, you're taking the under, because realistically, you don't know if either of these teams can actually put up more than 10 points in a football game. As far as Chicago being a 3-point favorite, there is not one atom of my being that could bet as Chicago in a point spread favorite right now. Could they somehow win this game in miraculous fashion if Davis Mills dies on the field? Yes. I mean, it's going to be an absolutely fucking awful football game. Justin Fields is not an NFL quarterback, man. He's just not. I mean, there was people when he was coming out that were saying, oh, he's the next Lamar Jackson. Guess what? He is not.
He might be able to run around like Lamar Jackson, but he can't throw the football with any kind of fucking accuracy.
Realistically,
No, I
he
think Hurts
can't.
does it.
And he barely won that 49er game. It was a pass just thrown up in the air. Luckily, there was a guy wide open with nobody within 20 yards
Come
of him.
on, dude.
That's the only reason why they won that game.
If Jimmy G were playing that game, it would.
They would have lost. They would have lost
Yeah,
if Garoppolo
Chicago
was
would have
playing.
lost. Yeah.
Okay. This is the thing about running quarterbacks. They have to be able to run the ball well. If you're
Right.
going to be a mobile quarterback, you got to run the ball well. Lamar Jackson can run the ball well. Kyler Murray can run the ball well. Justin Fields so far this season has 19 rushes for 48 yards. It's a 2.5-yard average. He has one rushing touchdown, which I remember watching, which was from the 1-yard line. And his longest run of the year is 12, and he's fumbled and lost it once. So
Correct.
he's not good at running the ball either.
I'll say this: he is running for his life on a lot
He's
of plays.
running, yes. The
I'll
Bears'
say that.
offensive line is atrocious. Their receiving core is atrocious. Their best receiver, Darnell Mooney, is a actual ghost. He doesn't
It's
exist.
not his fault.
You know what? We got to stop saying that because even good receivers with bad quarterbacks find a
The
way.
quarterbacks need to find these guys.
Yes, and that's fine. But Darnell Mooney's numbers are not even. They're whatever's worse than atrocious.
Last year, he was very good.
That's great. That's great. This year, he has 2 receptions for 4 yards.
Yeah.
4 fucking yards.
And there ain't nobody on the
how many
offense that's done
attempts?
any good. It's not. I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody has done any good on that offense.
How many times has he been targeted?
I don't even know, but whatever it is. I mean, if you look across the
That's
board,
what you have to look at. To
This
tell
is the
whether-
thing.
Who's their leading receiver
this
right
is
now?
the thing. They only have 15 completions.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
In 2 games.
Their leading receiver right now is Equiminius St. Brown has 3 receptions
Do you
for
know why?
57 yards. And
He
one
was the guy who caught that pass. That
it was a
went for
30-yard target.
30 yards for a touchdown.
Right. And Dante Pettis has 1 reception for 51 yards. He's second. And then it's David Montgomery, 5 receptions. He leads the team in catches.
Okay.
With 5.
You're offensively, they're putrid.
Putrid.
They are absolutely
Fucking
putrid.
awful. Awful.
Somebody needs to lose their job, and if it continues on, if they get smoked by the Texans, you could probably see their coach losing his job real quick.
If they get popped by the Texans this week, Elferbus or whatever the fuck the coach's name is, he needs to go. Justin Fields, you got to do something. Like you have to do something. Go out and call Andy Dalton. whatever the
Obviously,
fuck
they're
he
not
is.
buying into whatever it is their coach is selling. Obviously,
On the other side of the ball, though, Davis Mills actually doesn't look all that bad. 2 touchdowns, no picks. Been sacked 6 times. 42 completions. On
that's
75.
an issue. He keeps getting put to the ground. They need to clean that up.
Well, I think
They've revamped that line. They need to protect him a little bit.
I think they need to keep vamping. But 42 completions and 75 yards, 417 yards. Not a terrible year. Damian Pierce running the ball pretty well. 26 attempts, 102 yards. No rushing touchdowns yet for this team. But Brennan Cooks actually, surprisingly, is not having that bad of a year. 11 receptions in 2 games, 136 yards. Other than that, I mean, let's be real. The Houston Texans aren't going to be that exciting at all this year. They're at the bottom of the league with Chicago. This is going to be the shit show of the week. Don't bet on this game if you have a brain, because usually when you have a shit show, anything can happen. Much like our shit show of the week last week between Jacksonville and Indianapolis, where
What happened there?
came on here and said, I have no idea what's going to happen. It could go either way. It's going to be a shit show. And then
We had a shit
Jacksonville
show
put up
Thursday.
20-some points and zeroed Indy. So I think you could see that happening again this week. The Texans could very easily win this game 21-0, and Chicago could pull out a fluky 16-12 game of some sort. but
They'll win
in a
by-
monsoon.
They'll win by a field goal.
Exactly.
Heard it here.
The battle of two 0-2 teams this week in Nashville. The Raiders go into Tennessee to play the Titans. Las Vegas, a 2.5-point favorite in this game with an over-under of 45. And we can start off by saying Las Vegas shouldn't be 0-2. They've pretty much just shit the bed in the fourth quarter. On the other hand, Tennessee has some fucking issues that need to be addressed. They got, I don't even know if embarrassed is big enough of a word. They got absolutely fucking shellacked by Buffalo last week, 41-7. They lost to the Giants only by a point.
Right.
But Vrabel does not have answers to get this team going. There's a couple things that I noticed off the bat. Ryan Tannehill is not that great at football anymore. Like, let's just be real. He's just not that great at football.
They got this guy throwing the ball way too much.
Way too much. Derrick
And
Henry.
the offensive line is not played well. They've been awful.
You know,
Derrick Henry
Longevity.
has 100 yards through 2 games.
The longevity of these big backs doesn't last very long.
I don't.
Set
I don't.
it
buy
at
it.
the
beginning
Derrick
of the
Henry's a
season.
monster.
with Derrick Henry, this is a utilization issue. I agree with you
Yes.
wholeheartedly. But granted, he is only averaging 3 yards per carry. I think that is due to a couple of things. One, he was lights out last year. Everybody knows that Tennessee's game plan is run first and pass like 5th or 6th, right? They are a very one-dimensional team. So they know that they're going to run the ball. That's number one. Number two, defenses know Ryan Tannehill is not that great of a quarterback.
Right.
Number three, not only did they take a one-dimensional team with a not very good quarterback, but then Tennessee went and got rid of every single receiver, essentially, that Ryan Tannehill actually liked throwing to, as in A.J. Brown, as in Julio Jones, to name a few. So, defenses know now. They know, okay, Derrick Henry's going to get the ball a whole lot. To counter that, Vrabel's trying to throw the ball. It doesn't work because Ryan Tannehill is not a good quarterback. So we have a very easy equation here.
He's
to
throwing the
figure
ball
out.
almost 60 times in 2 games.
Yeah, I mean,
He's not going to be successful doing that. He's not.
383 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, sacked 3 times. Malik Willis came in last week, threw the ball 4 times, completed one of them. That was another atrocity. Mike Vrabel obviously does not like Malik Willis. It's very easy to read when you're watching
The
their
management
football game.
there wanted Willis.
So here's the whole thing. Tennessee is at the moment showing me nothing, especially playing a good Raiders team that
Defensively, the Harold Landry injury early in the camp has killed them.
So this Raiders team lost to the Chargers 24-19 in week 1, and then lost to Arizona in overtime last week 29-23. So
Actually, they played pretty well.
they played
I
well in
mean,
both of those games. And I think that they definitely
They didn't close it out.
They
Both of those
definitely-
games they couldn't close out, and I
Right.
think that's a learning curve for them. They have a lot of new players that they're breaking in on that team, and I think that's an issue too.
overall, this game, Tennessee shows me nothing that they're going to compete in this game. At the current moment for them, they need a quick wake-up call and a quick revamp. The Raiders, on the other hand, need to get that first win to stay relevant in their division, and I think they do in a pretty convincing fashion in Nashville this week. Raiders, I'm taking them -2.5, over under a 45. This one, just I don't feel good about it either way because the Raiders could put up 30 by themselves and
Right.
the Titans could stumble into the end zone a couple of times. I'm going to take the under just because I don't think Tennessee is going to put up any points.
Okay.
And I think that the Raiders will be good for 21-35 and Tennessee's good for 7-10. And so you might get it by that half a point.
At what point is Vrabel's job in jeopardy here?
Well, here's the
Because
thing.
it looks like to me if they drop this game, I got a feeling he might be in trouble.
Vrabel,
It does seem like a him problem.
This is
Has he lost his team?
they haven't.
big question.
They have not done Mike Vrabel any favors.
No, they
took
haven't.
all of his receivers. They didn't do anything about their offensive line. They didn't do anything about the defense.
They did. They drafted guys. It's just, you know what?
That didn't work.
Injuries on their line have hurt him too.
Right. A guy like Harold Landry wanted to walk, and then they paid him, and then he got hurt. Like, they haven't done
Juan is
enough.
hurt.
They haven't done enough.
No.
I'll say that. No. You know, Treylon Burks, great, nice, shiny toy, but essentially you gave up.
He's caught 7 passes.
Yeah, he's
Come
caught
on,
7
2 games,
passes.
7 passes.
And you gave up A.J. Brown to get him.
Yeah. A.J. Brown, look at his numbers.
Yeah.
That's self-explanatory.
So,
because they didn't want to pay him.
Tennessee is in troubled waters right
With
now.
a running quarterback.
I agree.
throwing to him.
In a game that I can't believe when I saw the line, the Kansas City Chiefs are heading to Lucas Oil Stadium to play the Indianapolis Colts, who are, for lack of a better word, fucking awful so far this year. The Colts get goose-egged by the fucking Jaguars last week, which I don't think anyone was expecting.
Jonathan Taylor had 60 yards.
Jonathan Taylor
What are you going to do?
has not been able to get it going yet.
That's an offensive line issue. That's not a
Whatever. Matt Ryan
is.
has 1 touchdown, 4 picks, and 7 sacks.
okay.
He is
Here's the thing with Matt Ryan right now. Matt Ryan is a statue back there. If you can't protect Matt Ryan,
no,
you're
Matt
going to get
Ryan
what you got.
isn't that
Because if
good.
you look at his numbers, take the interceptions away, his numbers are comparable with Pat Mahomes.
Excuse me?
Take the interceptions away. Take the 4 interceptions away. Mahomes has he's 54 of 74 for 595 on the year. Ryan is 48 of 80 for 547 on the year.
Yes, Mahomes also has 7 passing touchdowns.
Correct.
Ryan's
He does.
1.
I get that. What I'm saying is this. Not only that the Chiefs are a lot more talented than Michael Pittman's not playing too. And that's really hurting them big time.
Listen to me. The Indianapolis Colts are right there with the Tennessee Titans in terms of sound the fucking.
When
horn.
Austin Dillon is your leading receiver, you're in
They
trouble.
tied.
Ashton Doolin.
Ashton, Austin, whatever it is, fucking
Ashton
name is.
Doolin having himself.
Whatever
a
his
year.
name is. Guess what? If that's your leading receiver, you're a dead man in this league.
And Jonathan
And you're
Taylor
seeing
just
it.
hasn't been able to turn it on. It's
It
ugly.
ain't gonna be this week.
It's ugly, and yeah, it ain't.
No, they're
going
to get their tanks handed to them. What's the line on this?
Kansas City's a 5.5 point favorite. I'm taking Kansas.
I'll take
City.
Kansas City giving up the 5.
I would take Kansas City giving up 15 in this game.
I
Over
would
under
too.
a 50.5. I am taking the over because I think Kansas City will put up 42 by themselves. And
Before half.
yeah,
before the half.
Colts will just have the ball so many times that they'll accidentally score 2 or 3 times. I think now we're quick to say Jonathan Taylor's not going to have a week this week, but here's the
I don't agree with that.
I don't
think
agree
he's
with
gonna
that
run
either.
the ball real well.
Jonathan Taylor could run for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns this week, and it won't matter because the Chiefs will still win by 2 or 3. So
Yes.
2
or 3 scores.
Correct. I do expect Jonathan Taylor to have a better week than he's had so far, just because of the sheer amount of times the Colts are going to have the ball and the sheer amount of rushes he's going to get. He's gotten 20 rushes in each of the last 2 games. So we'll see. But there's nothing outside of Jonathan Taylor, fantasy-wise, that is relevant to the Colts. Obviously, you know who to play for the Chiefs. And I'm taking the Chiefs giving up 5, and I'm taking the over because it's the Chiefs, and you can't with good conscience bet an under when Kansas City's playing.
No.
So
Can't.
that one's pretty easy to break down. This game, on the other hand, is not that easy to
The
break.
game of the week. Battle of the Unbeatens.
Battle of the Unbeatens in Miami. The Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills head to South Beach to play the Dolphins in a game that is, against the Ravens last week, we didn't want to give the Dolphins. You specifically didn't want to give the Dolphins much.
I'm going to be honest with you. If you look at the way that game started, they looked like they were going to get blown out.
Yeah, and then
They had a miraculous comeback. I don't know if it was a bigger collapse on the defense of the Ravens, or was it just offensively they're that dynamic?
So here's some interesting numbers for you. Josh Allen's the quarterback for the Bills.
Correct.
And Tua Tagovailoa is the quarterback for the Dolphins.
Correct.
Josh Allen has played alien-like and lights out. But Tua's numbers and Josh Allen's numbers are almost perfectly mirrored identical. Both have 7 touchdowns.
Right. But
Both have 2
I think
picks.
Tua's he's thrown more passes than Allen has.
He's thrown for
He's had a
more
lot.
yards.
He's had 20 more attempts than
And in those
Allen.
20 attempts, he's thrown for 130 more yards.
correct.
I'll tell you what. If there's anybody who's going to give this Miami offense trouble, it is Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is otherworldly, as we know. So, realistically, this could be the speed bump in the road for the Dolphins. I'm very hesitant.
If you looked at that game last week, the game with Baltimore, they got to Tua early. And when they got to him early, they were successful. And that's why they jumped out to that huge lead. That and they took the opening kick for a touchdown. But,
True.
I mean, defensively, Baltimore played very well against Miami in that first half. They were up. They were up big.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. That this game, for me, is a trap game for Buffalo for some
I think so, too.
And
I'm
I think
taking the Dolphins to win this.
there's a lot of emotion going into this game. Both these teams know what they've done so far this year, and everything logically makes sense for for Buffalo to win this game by a touchdown or 2, because Buffalo's defense is the only defense so far that looks like they're going to stack up against the Dolphins' passing attack. So
I want to take Miami in the points.
I'm going to take Buffalo minus 5.5 because
I'm taking Miami in
I
the
think
points.
ultimately Buffalo will win this game by at least a touchdown.
Underdog,
Okay.
baby.
That over of 53 is just going to, I think, is going to get absolutely abolished. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see,
I'm gonna take the Dolphins and I'm gonna take the points. I got a feeling it's gonna be a shootout. This could be a cursor to the AFC Championship game. You could see this again later on in the year, and
Yeah. You know what's funny about that?
that would be something if 2 teams in the same division go and compete for the
It
championship.
it would
I don't think that, but I still think it's going to be Kansas City and Buffalo.
would be, but it's interesting that you say that, especially when you on this show in this recording said that the Dolphins would finish in last in this division, only win 6
I did
games.
not say
Yes,
the
you did.
Dolphins were going to finish
Yes, you did.
last.
You
I
said that the Jets defense
would finish
You
last.
said the Jets defense was better than the Dolphins, and Tyreek Hill was just okay. And
I'll stop.
I'm just saying,
stop.
the New England
Just
Patriots would be
okay?
in the playoffs.
Come on,
The
dude.
New England Patriots
Hey,
would be.
Tyreek
Whatever.
listens to the podcast, man.
Whatever.
Anyways,
Anyway,
I'm taking the Bills minus 5.5 and
all
over.
right, I'm taking the 5.5, and I'll take the Dolphins.
Moving on. Oh, here we go. Funny enough. Ravens and Patriots. You know what? You're the Patriots homer on this show, so I'll let you start this one. Go ahead.
What do you want me to say?
Well, I'll give you the line real quick. Baltimore minus 3, over under a 44.5. Patriots are 1-1, and Baltimore's
Yeah, they're both.
both 1-1.
Obviously, I'm going to take Baltimore in this game, even giving up the 3 points. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You don't think this will be the big Mac Jones?
No,
emergence
no,
under the
I
Patricia
don't.
Regime.
I don't think so. I know they're at New England. I think New England's going to play a lot better than they have the first 2 games, but I think they don't have an answer for Jackson. Jackson's the key. If they can contain him, then they got a chance to keep it close and to cover the points. But I don't think that's going to happen.
This for me is the exclamation point game on all of the Patriots' downfall, failure, miscoaching, mismanaging that I've talked about all offseason. This game will be the exclamation point. Not only do the Patriots not have an answer
Bandwagon jumper.
not have an answer defensively for Lamar Jackson, the Ravens don't even have Dobbins may play this week. He is questionable. If he plays, they're going to run the shit out of the ball. Lamar Jackson's going to have another great game. and their defense is too good. Like, what are the Patriots going to do against the Baltimore defense? Even
I don't know.
let alone Baltimore's defense, I would say, is in the upper echelon. But when the Patriots have to play an elite defense, it's going to be fucking ugly. Nothing about the Patriots has inspired me yet this year. I'm going to take Baltimore -3. I'd probably take them -10. Over under a 44.5. I'm going to take the under on that because I don't think the Patriots are going to put up. I'll give them 14. And I don't think Baltimore is going to throw the ball enough to put up over 30, so I'll take the under. New England needs help. New England needs something. New England needs a player that's in the Pro Football Focus top 100. That's what they need. Just at least one. Give them one. You think Kendrick Bourne with a big week this week or what?
I like Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, I know you do.
It's too sad that shitbag's ruining that team. But anyway,
Anywho.
Remember, he said
let's move on.
starting Henry, too. Hunter Henry.
Oh, yeah, you said you're starting Hunter Henry this week.
Yeah. So,
Are you?
and
You starting
absolutely
Hunter
I
Henry
would.
this week?
Absolutely, I would.
Really?
I would. If I had him, I'd start him.
So when he goes 0 for 2,
Hunter
no
Henry.
yards, nothing?
Hunter Henry will surprise a lot of people this week. I think him and the other kid Smith,
Johnny Smith. Jonnu Smith,
Jonnu
the ghost
Smith.
of Johnny Smith.
I got
Okay.
both of those guys are going to have a good game.
Bruce, when we start off Monday's show, don't forget, put it in your notes, set a reminder, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
Pull
Bruce doesn't
up-
take notes.
Pull up Patriots tight end stats because we're going to open Monday's show with whatever stat line the Patriots tight ends had this week. And when Hunter Henry goes 1 for 2 for 8 yards and Jonnu Smith doesn't play, has no stat line, we will revisit this. But moving on. The 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals, who have looked like absolute poop swag this year, go to MetLife Stadium to play Gangrene. I've picked the
Jobs.
Bengals twice, and I've been wrong both times.
Said calm
Cincinnati
down. Joe Burrow said calm down. We got it under control.
Cincinnati
What he
is
said.
6-point favorite in this game. The over-under of 45. Joe Flacco's playing lights out. I never thought I'd say that again.
The Jets
especially-
are getting 6.
No, Cincinnati's. Oh, the Jets are getting, yes.
They're getting 6
Cincinnati's
points.
6-point favorite.
I'll take the Jets in the 6 points.
I'm
Cover.
taking the Jets.
Not to win, but to
I'm
cover.
taking the Jets.
I think Cincinnati's going to win this game. I really
I
do.
don't think so.
I really do. I think they're going to win. They're going to be more focused. They're going to come out. They're going to play hard. I think the Jets are good enough to stay with them and keep that spread.
Okay. This is the last time I will believe in this if they don't get it together this week. I'm going to take Cincinnati -6, and I'm going to take the over.
Okay.
Why I'm taking the over? Solely for the fact that Joe Flacco's averaging 308 yards a game passing and has thrown 5 touchdowns, and he's playing. Joe Flacco might finally, for the first time in 20 years, be elite.
We'll find out who the real Joe Cool is.
Joe Burrow, on the other hand, he's been sacked 13 times in 2 fucking games. It's a very simple equation as to how this Bengals team ended up 0-2. I think all of the money that you invested in that offensive line, if it doesn't show itself this week, that's when you say, okay, the Bengals last year was a fluke, and we got to change our expectations with this team. I think that this week they will put an exclamation point on it. The Jets have played well. The Jets have played well, but they're not. The Jets and the Bengals are not on the same level. Yet we're sitting here, and because Joe Flacco and Garrett Wilson and the Jets have played so well, and the Bengals have played so poorly, we're sitting here debating this. I think that the Bengals will finally get it together this week. Put an exclamation
I
point
think they're
on
going to win also, but I am going to take the Jets in the points.
So you think the Bengals are only a field goal better than?
Yes, I
No,
think they'll win by a field goal.
I don't.
I think the Jets will stay in it, and they'll stay in this game. I
think the
do.
Bengals will win this game 35-14 in a pretty convincing fashion. I think the offensive
The Jets are playing at home, and that's the only reason why I'm going to give them a nod to say that they will cover.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I don't think there'll be a cover in this game. The Bengals, in order to salvage this season, in the eyes of everyone, have to get an exclamation point win this week. They have to. And the Jets, at the end of the day, it's Joe Flacco, man. You gotta, if you're Joe Burrow, you gotta go out there and beat fucking Joe Flacco. I mean, my God.
Dumpster fire.
Eagles at the Washington Commanders. Eagles 6.5-point favorite, over under a 47.5.
Well,
you want me to be honest with you?
yeah.
For some reason, this one just, my head's telling me Philly, but my heart's telling me Washington somehow squeaks this game out. And I don't know why. I really don't know why.
Well, it's a
division game.
It's a division game.
At home for the Washington.
Carson Wentz has played pretty well. He's been sacked 6 times, 3 picks, 7 tuds. Antonio Gibson has
He's thrown for almost 700 yards in 2 games.
I know.
700 yards in 2 games.
That's why I'm having a hard time with this. Philly's coming off of
But the onset to that is you have Hurts is throwing fucking almost 600 yards.
and ran for a couple hundred.
And ran
So,
for a couple hundred yards.
This is the thing. Philly coming off of a big, hard exclamation point win. Something inside of me is just saying that
I'm going to take the Eagles,
Washington's
giving
gonna
up the
win this
points.
game.
I think the Eagles are the best team in that division. That's
I agree
my
with
opinion.
you.
But
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I'm going to take the Commanders -6.5. I'm going to take
Okay.
the under in this game. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game like both of these teams have both been putting up points at will essentially this year.
Right.
I don't think that is going to happen in this game.
No, because you've seen the Eagles you've seen the real Eagle defense last week.
Yeah.
So
I'll-
that's going to happen again this week.
And I'll say this much. Washington's not as bad as everyone thought they'd be. At
No,
least
I don't think
thought
so
they'd
either.
be.
Yeah, we all agreed on that.
Carson Wentz, if he continues to play well, and across the board, their receiving options have been lights out for them. Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel have the same amount of receiving yards. Dotson, we know he has 3 touchdowns so far this year. Logan Thomas actually played decent last week. They're running the ball well between Gibson. McKissick comes in when he needs to take care of business. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think, and I'll take the Commanders -6.5. I have no idea who will win because my heart is telling me somehow Washington
I'm kind of having
squeaks out this division game. Over under a 47.5. I'm going to take the under. Don't know why. No logical explanation for that, but
No, I'm
going with my heart.
having the same.
I'm going with
feeling.
my heart. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have yet another. You know what? There's a lot of shit show games on the schedule this week. A lot of shit show.
Last week was exciting. This week's a shit show.
Here we go, live from Raleigh. It is the Saints going to play the Panthers. New Orleans 2.5-point favorite, over under a 41, and my God, I mean, just another game that's going to make your eyes bleed.
Is Kamara playing?
So far from what I heard, Kamara is playing.
He was supposed to be playing.
He is.
I'll say this about this game. I have no faith in the Carolina Panthers, to be honest
Me
with
neither.
you.
My God,
And I would take the Saints and
2.5.
given the 2.5 points to win.
I'm going to check on Kamara's status real quick here before
I don't think it'll matter. I think that the Saints have a better overall team than Carolina does. You know,
I think, yeah. Realistically, the Saints
come
are a
on.
2.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
Fucking A. Jameis Winston's 3 interceptions, 10 sacks.
He's got 3 touches. He's 500. That's what he does. He's got 3 picks, 3 touchdowns. He's
Baker's not good. No. 30 completions, 380 yards, 2 tuds.
He's barely 50%.
And 6 sacks.
Yeah.
McCaffrey is probably going to do Christian McCaffrey-like things against the Saints D. Realistically,
Robbie Anderson is his only viable guy that he's going after.
Hold on.
So
We're gonna
that's when you're in trouble.
We're gonna call a timeout on that real quick. Robbie Anderson has 1, maybe 2 games a year where he is
correct,
quote unquote viable. So
correct.
He already had 1 of them. So that means
actually, yes.
So that means for the next 14 games.
14.
For the next 14 games, most likely 13 of them, Robbie Anderson will not be a factor. That is how Robbie Anderson rolls. He has 2 games a year where he plays well, and the rest is absolute, pure, unadulterated horseshit. So I don't expect Robbie Anderson to do anything this week. I don't expect Deonta Foreman, DJ Moore, Chuba Hubbard, or anybody who's not named Christian McCaffrey to have any sort of viable
It's a shit show
game for this team.
All
The
right.
Saints, on the other hand,
I'm taking the Saints, giving up to 2.
I'm taking the Saints -2.5. I'm taking the over of 41 because I think that the Saints, realistically, are going to torch the Panthers this week. And again, I don't know why. Jameis Winston plays good against shit defenses. Jameis Winston plays bad against good defenses. That we know. I think Jameis Winston will have a pretty decent week. I think if Kamara plays, he'll be an instant factor. And realistically, their receiving core is better than we expected.
Oh, yeah.
Jarvis Landry looks like a nice, viable target. Michael Thomas has 3 touchdowns. So we know who they're going to in the red zone. Olave, the rookie, with 121 yards off 8 receptions so far. You gotta respect that receiving core.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mark Ingram, when he had to step in last week for Kamara, he's played pretty well. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry. He dropped the ball twice. He's got to get that figured out.
You're averaging almost 6 yards per carry, you're gonna have a little success. You're gonna have success.
I agree. I'm taking the Saints -2.5, and I'm taking the over 41 just because I think that they're going to put up a shitload of points this week. This line fascinated me more than anything else.
I'm actually a little shocked about it being as small as it is.
And then I heard Justin Herbert is unlikely to play.
Okay.
The Jaguars going to SoFi Stadium to play the Chargers. The Chargers are a 3.5-point favorite and over under 42. And if that's just mind-boggling to you, it is because as the reports right now are out of the Chargers camp, Justin Herbert will not play this week. Now, I think that is a couple of reasons. 1, I do think he is hurt. 2, do I think if they were playing the Chiefs and not the Jaguars, would he'd be more likely to play?
Right.
Yes.
They want to rest. I think they want to get him healthy, and I actually think it's a smart move.
I do too.
I mean, they're 2-0. Or they're 1-1. I'm sorry, they're 1-1. But at this point, you're playing a game against a team that's pretty good. They're not horrible. But I don't think they're much of a threat.
I'll say this: Jacksonville had an exclamation point win last week when they shut out the Colts. That was the win that we needed to see
where they're at.
And now we know. Okay, you got to respect the Jags a little bit. Do I think their offense is a match for the Chargers D? No, I don't.
I think you're going to see an upgrade. Trevor Lawrence has to really watch what he does this week. He made a few mistakes last week, very few, but he was lights out.
I agree.
But I don't think he's going to be under duress this week where he wasn't last week.
Correct. They will be in his face every play. I'll say this.
And he's going up against the top secondary.
Chase Daniel as the starting quarterback for the Chargers with a hurt Keenan Allen who is questionable to play. We still don't know if Keenan Allen is going to play this week.
Right.
And what we saw last week from that Chargers offense without Keenan Allen was a kind of unproductive Austin Eckler, heavy relying on Mike Williams, heavy relying on Gerald Everett. That doesn't really...
And Everett was real nice last week.
Without Justin Herbert, with those options, that leaves a little bit of a question mark. Ultimately, I'll say this. As good as Jacksonville's offense looked last week, I think they're not prepared for this Chargers defense yet. They're too young. They're too inexperienced. They haven't played enough games together. I think that ultimately...
So you're going to take LA
Chargers minus 3.5. The over-under in this game, 42.
Okay.
God, we just don't know. You know what?
I'm gonna say under.
If Justin Herbert doesn't play, which we don't think he's going to.
Right. If he doesn't
this
hurt him,
will be the best week of the year for me because Austin Eckler will finally get 30 fucking touches, have a monster game.
He'll have as many touches as he had all year in one game.
Correct. And I'll say this much. I can't bank on Austin Eckler getting 42 points because realistically, it's hard for me to imagine the Jaguars finding pay dirt more than twice against this Chargers D, and it's hard for me to imagine Chase Daniel going off. So I'm going to take LA minus 3.5, and I'm going to take the under, even though it doesn't make me feel good to take the under with the Chargers. I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
Don't feel good about it.
It's understandable.
The other team from Los Angeles heads to the desert to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams are a 3.5-point favorite, over under a 48.5. Cardinals coming off of a big overtime win. And the Rams still don't really know what to make of that team.
Well, they barely lost to Atlanta. They barely won to Atlanta. And
Atlanta gave them everything.
Atlanta threw it away right at the end. What's the spread on this? 3.5?
Yep. The Rams are a 3.5-point favorite.
You know what? I'm going to take the Rams in the 3.
I'm going to take the Rams as well. I'm also going to take the over because I don't think
I'll take
7 touchdowns is very hard for these two teams to get together. I'll
Right.
say this much. That injury list for the Rams is pretty stout going into this week. Here's the thing. The Cardinals have not been able to run the ball. Shockingly enough, neither have the Rams.
Right, neither team has.
Neither of these teams have run the ball. And realistically, you don't even know who the guy is for Arizona because James Conner leads the team in carries, but he has played so fucking badly that he's averaging 3 yards per carry.
Right. Well, you got a backup guy that's got more yards than him.
Benjamin looks better than him. I believe is that
Darrell Williams,
right? Darrell Williams
Williams
running the ball better than him.
Yeah.
So we don't know who their running back's going to be. We don't know if they can actually run the ball. And
Kyler Murray's leading receiver is Dortch.
Greg Dortch.
I mean, this would be a completely different story if Moore is playing. They said he might play this week, Rondell Moore.
I don't think
who's a highly touted guy that they have.
Here's the
Can they tread water
until DeAndre Hopkins gets off?
Can they tread water?
And Greg
I don't
Dortch,
think it's gonna work out for him.
AJ Green needs to step up.
Well, he did last week.
Listen, you say big time. He has 29 total receiving yards on the year.
That's the reason why they won.
I'm aware, but
they'd be 0-2 if it wasn't.
I'm not this. I think Arizona's going to get thumped this week.
Okay.
I just do. There's too many question marks. Who's there to catch the ball? The receivers that you have there, can they catch the ball? Who's the actual starting running back?
And if the offensive line cannot generate any kind of push to get a running game going,
they're fucked.
They're very one-dimensional, and they'll get beat easily.
Agree. And also defensively, the Cardinals have allowed. I mean, the Raiders torched them in the first half last week.
Yes.
I think that the Rams will torch them. I'm taking the Rams minus 3.5. I'm taking the over just because The Rams will score 35, and the Cardinals will keep pace through
The over-under?
half the game. Over-under's 48.5. I'm taking the over just because,
Yeah.
I mean, both these teams showed they can score at least. So,
I would.
Well,
Take the over.
God, this game is fucking horrible, too. And I don't know how Seattle's favorited, but the Falcons are fluttering off to Seattle to play their cousins, the Seahawks. Seattle is a 1-point
Battle
favorite.
of the Birds.
Battle of the Birds. Over under 42. I'm going to preface this by saying this. I'm taking the Falcons +1. I think the Falcons will win this game outright. And I am taking the fucking under because, God, this is just an ugly fucking game. Geno Smith looked like Geno Smith last week. Marcus Mariota looks slightly better than Geno Smith, even though they're 0-2. They lost to New Orleans by 1. They lost to the Rams by a field goal. The Seahawks got that fluky win against Denver and then got absolutely shat on by the 49ers. So,
Right.
I think overall the Falcons are a better team with better weapons, with a better quarterback, with better options. They're
Just
averaging
better.
26.5 points per game. Their defense is a question mark, but ultimately I'll say this. The Falcons looked like they kind of started to mesh in that second half of the Rams game last week. Patterson looked good. Drake London looked good. Mariota's finding his targets. Their defense is a question mark, but ultimately I think the Seahawks are exactly what the fuck we thought they were. Trash. So they will get exposed again this week against.
I hope they lose from here out, just
Yeah.
so Pete Carroll goes away.
And don't get me wrong, Atlanta's not that great of a football team. They are mildly crusty, but the Seahawks are really fucking crusty. So I'm going to take the Falcons +1, and I'm going to take the under because Seattle, in the middle of September, the weather's going to start to get shitty.
Right.
There's not going to be a lot of points scored. It's going to be ugly. Ugly football this weekend. Ugly football. In a game.
This next game is really ugly.
That
too.
I don't think will be that ugly. The Green Bay Packers pack up their shades and shorts to head down to Tampa Bay to play Tom Brady.
The undefeated Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The unanimous Las Vegas favorite to win the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay
No, they weren't.
Buccaneers
No, they weren't.
on their road to 17-0.
It's not going to happen.
Live from Raymond James Stadium, the Buccaneers are a 1-point favorite, which I think is embarrassing. And the over-under is 42.
Well, when you're coming into a game and you have no receivers, I understand why it's a 1-point game. A 1-point favorite.
So Mike Evans is suspended.
Yep.
Chris Godwin is, they have him listed as questionable. I would say he's doubtful. And Julio Jones is also hurt. So realistically,
I just picked up Perriman.
are you playing him?
The only other guy I have is
Who'd you pick
fucking
up?
Ryan Anderson.
Rashad Perriman.
The only other guy I have is Ryan Anderson. So
Rashad Perriman will most likely be the number 1 receiver for.
I'll say this.
Oh, Chris Godwin is
he ca-
officially listed as out now.
Okay.
So
basically,
Russell Gage also questionable. Rashad Perriman is also questionable. So the
gonna be
Tampa
receiving
it's
for
a knee. Apparently
them.
he had the knee problem last week,
Tampa
too.
Bay receiving core is Mike Evans suspended, Chris Godwin out with injury, Julio Jones questionable, Russell Gage questionable, Rashad Perriman questionable, but Scotty Miller is healthy.
and Cole Beasley.
Oh, yes. God,
Everybody's
I forgot.
forgetting
They
about
signed Cole Beasley.
Junior Julian
but is he gonna
Edelman
be-
is going to walk in off the street
You think?
and catch 14 balls today for 100 yards.
Well,
He doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know the system.
He doesn't need to. He's a good route runner.
wanna
Watch how
know
fast
something?
he gets it.
you want to know something? None
Go
of
ahead.
this fucking matters, though. Because if the Packers showed us anything so far this year, it's that outside of pummeling the Bears, fucking the Bears.
Well, Sammy Watkins is out, I thought, this
Sammy
week.
Watkins is also out this week.
Okay. They have Lazard,
Great. He was
Okay.
real effective last
the
week.
ghost of Randall Cobb.
The ghost of Randall Cobb. Yeah.
See,
Okay.
this is GOAT status here. Tom Brady's
Well, here's the thing.
come out here.
Can
Nobody.
Tampa's defense do what they've done the first 2 games?
I think we're
They've
forgetting
had to stand on their head.
We're forgetting something. Green Bay got poop dicked by Minnesota in week 1.
Correct.
Okay? So let's stop here. Chicago, we know, most incompetent, shitty team in the NFL. Yes, Green Bay won. Great. I'll give them that. They won a game against absolute dumpster fire garbage. Strength of the Buccaneers team is
Defense.
beautiful. Buccaneers will shut down Aaron Rodgers and his ragtag group of bullshit receivers this week. Aaron Jones will not have his 100-yard game like he did last week. They will contain him. He'll probably have a decent game, but they will contain him. Tom Brady is going to have to heavily rely on Leonard Fournette this week. Fournette has not played well this year. He's not been efficient. He has not been effective. I think Fournette gets it together a little bit this week. I think he has a pretty big game. I think Tom Brady utilizes a bunch of fucking dudes you've never heard of, and they sneak out of here with a win and try and get everybody healthy to play the Chiefs next week.
And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these guys that are questionable. They're not going to play.
Yep. And they are going to just...
They want to get healthy for
You
the
got
Kansas
the
City.
GOAT going up against the MVP.
And you know what? Even if they drop this game, it's not a big deal.
Agreed. I don't think
it's
it
not
is
a big deal. I don't think they're worried about Green Bay.
I don't think they'll drop this game. I think Tampa Bay will win this game by a touchdown. I'm that over under. I'm going to take the under because I don't think Green Bay has enough weapons to score against the Bucs.
I agree.
I don't think the Bucs have anybody to score enough points to hit 42. So ultimately, I think we're going to have like a 14-7 or like a 21-10 football game here.
Okay.
And I think that Tampa Bay will ultimately, their defense will shut down Green Bay.
I agree.
In a Sunday night football matchup, the new Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers head into Mile High to play. I'm going to say this. Are you ready? The ghost of Russell Wilson.
Ghost of Russell Wilson.
And the Denver Broncos.
I'm not ready to hear
Yeah.
it. I'm not ready to hear it, dude.
Ugh.
Where is he at? Where is he at?
I saw this when I was going through my notes last night. I saw this game, and I don't even know what to say. It's just, God damn.
Well, I will say this. I will take the 49ers giving up the 1.5.
You know what? I think I would have to too, because this is the thing though. The Broncos are going to have that one game. I don't know
Where they're
when.
going to wake up.
Where they're going to wake
Where
up. and
Russell
they'll
Wilson's actually going to be
Yes.
Russell Wilson.
He'll come up and put 42, and they'll
You
win
know what?
and command.
I
fashion.
just don't see it happening against a defense as good as San Francisco.
I agree with that.
I just don't see
agree.
that happening.
Jimmy Garoppolo has to prove something here. Jimmy Garoppolo has to play well. Denver's defense.
So they go 2-0 under Garoppolo. I think he's got his job back. He should.
Well, no, Kyle Shanahan already
Even
came
though
out. Kyle Shanahan already came out and said Trey is our starter when he's healthy.
That's stupid.
No.
That's just stupid. You lose a job that fucking way.
Kyle Shanahan should lose.
Even though this
Lose
guy's
a-
going to
you
be out
lose
for the
a
rest of the year,
team.
nobody cares.
Okay.
But Trey Lance is garbage.
Uh,
Let's all be real. If Justin Fields, you go head to head against Justin Fields and they got out a win against you, that tells you how
Listen,
bad
if
Trey
they-
Lance is.
Yeah.
If they win, and then when Trey Lance comes back, they put him back in, and they go right down the shitter again.
I don't think that's going to happen because he ain't going
Hold
to be
on.
back till next year sometime anyway.
I think if that happens, Kyle Shanahan deserves.
he should
a
lose
spot.
his job.
He
Agreed.
deserves a spot on the Scumbag Hall of Fame.
He is
you know what?
scummy. You know what?
He might deserve to be in there.
He's a
Right next to Matt Patricia. Who's the bigger scumbag than he is? Oh, that asshole in Carolina.
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule. Can't wait to see him get fired.
Yeah,
too.
that's coming here.
Yeah.
That might happen after this
Can't
week.
wait for that pedophile to get filed.
Here's how I'm going to break this game down. If we go off of what we've seen, you got to take the 49ers. Denver has looked,
Right.
for lack of a better word, pretty incompetent to
see
this.
otherwise.
Oh, I agree.
point.
I agree.
So until I see otherwise, I'm going to take the 49ers. Yeah, it's only a 1.5. I'll take San Francisco -1.5. I think they will. I can't say that this is going to be a close game or this is going to be a blowout. I don't know. There's no way to tell. Realistically, if we go off of the way both teams have played thus far, it's going to be heavily in favor of San Francisco, and it will be the under because it'll be a 15-9 football game or something fucked up like that. I'm going to take the 49ers to win at Denver, and I'm going to take the under because I just don't see how
I agree.
there's going to be 43 points scored. And in our last game of
Monday night game.
Monday night, the Cooper Rush Cowboys
Led Cowboys.
go to MetLife to play the New York Football Giants, who are 2-0. The Giants, don't ask me how, but the Giants are a 1-point favorite in this game.
Who's the best? Who's the shittiest 2-0 team in football?
I mean, it's got to be the Giants, right?
I would say that, no. I mean, we all know what's going on. The
only-
battle of the
There's
unbeaten.
only 3, right? There's the Bucks,
The Dolphins.
No.
the Chiefs.
Tampa Bay, Philly, Chiefs, Bills,
Philly?
Dolphins, Giants. Yeah, the Giants are the worst team out of that.
Yeah,
Giants are the worst.
they got to be the worst team out of all the undefeated teams.
But I'm
think?
gonna.
But you
tell
know what?
This.
But you know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to take the Giants in that 1.5 going to Dallas.
I'm gonna take the Giants in that point going into Dallas as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take. I'm going to take.
Stupid if you don't.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Saquon Barkley.
You're a believer in Danny Dimes.
He's Danny Dimes is dropping dimes. You know what would be better than that? They need to bring Eli back. What's his name? What's his name over there working out?
Chad Powers.
That's it. They need to bring Chad Powers
Chad
and let
Powers.
him play.
Here's the thing. The Cowboys can't win games with Cooper Rush and the ghost of Ezekiel Elliott and fucking, you know what I mean? I mean, CeeDee Lamb hasn't fucking played.
It doesn't matter. They got what's that cat's name? What's that cat's
Noah
name?
Brown.
Nate Brown. Noah
Brown.
Brown.
Get
Who?
the
Who
fuck
is he?
out of here.
Who is that?
Yeah, fucking.
My man's got 10 catches for 160
I'm gonna
yards
be-
and a touchdown.
I'm going to be honest with you. Here's my assessment of this game. They beat Cincinnati last week. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, and if I'm wrong, you guys can both remind me of it Monday. I think the Giants are going to stomp the fuck out of the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football at home. I think this is a good game. For some reason, is going to get fucking ugly. Yes,
Chippy. I could see a lot of fights breaking out.
It's going to be
because it's a divisional game, and
both these teams don't really like each other.
no,
The Cowboys, if they lose this game, it's embarrassing because even though the Giants are 2-0, you can't respect this Giants team yet.
Well, did you notice a trend with the Cowboys in the last few years? Dak Prescott goes down, and their season goes to shit.
Well, yes.
And it
most
happened
teams-
last year.
Most teams, when they lose their starting quarterback.
Exactly,
the
and
season
I understand that. But if you can't have a guy come in and play 3 or 4 games for you and you go 500, that should happen.
yes, it should.
I don't see that happening with them.
I don't either.
I think they got lucky last week when they beat Cincinnati.
Yes, I would agree with that.
They do. They
Cincinnati
got
was
lucky
just
last week
in
that they
disarray.
won.
Hold on. If
The
your quarterback goes
defense,
down,
Dallas's defense played off the chain last week. If they could repeat that, they have a chance to beat the Giants. But you know what?
I don't see.
I don't see it happening
it.
either.
I don't see them having an answer for Barkley.
Yeah.
Realistically.
I mean, outside of the defense, what can you say has really been a bright spot for them,
for the Cowboys,
for the Cowboys?
there hasn't been.
I mean,
I mean, are we gonna
Cooper
sit here
Rush
and
is
tout
serviceable
Noah
at
Brown?
best.
We're gonna tout Noah Brown? No. I'm
mean-
taking the Giants -1. I am taking the under because
Ezekiel Elliott getting 25 carries in 2 games is fucking ridiculous.
ridiculous. Realistically,
Fucking ridiculous. Mike McCarthy needs to lose his fucking job.
has
This
Mike-
guy doesn't have 25 to 28 carries
what were you going to say?
in this next game.
I was gonna say, if your quarterback goes down, your season's shit. But if your quarterback that you bring in breaks the rules of conduct of the NFL, then you do pretty okay. with
Oh,
a
the
back.
Browns.
Yeah.
Well, Brissett's one of the better backups, I would say.
I would have to say that he is a lot better than Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Has
He was a
Mike
starter in
100%.
the league.
has Mike McCarthy reached tub of shit status yet? Or
He's there.
he's a tub of
I
shit.
actually think he's beyond tub of shit status.
Oh wow.
If they do not give Ezekiel Elliott 30 carries in this next game, they are going to get fucking blown out,
Embarrassed.
and he needs to be fired.
Do you want to know something? This could be it because if Jerry Jones gets embarrassed in New York
Well, you seen him
against
last
the
week.
division rival Giants,
He's calling out his own players. Jerry
Yeah.
Jones is.
he called out CeeDee Lamb.
I know
It's
that.
not just his own players. His star wide
The
receiver.
only guy that
only
he's got that's
fucking-
viable,
yes.
and Jerry Jones is losing his shit on him. Jimmy, wherever you are,
You know,
put that big thing away and call Jerry. You guys make up, kiss and make up, and get back over there. It's fucking embarrassing. How about those Cowboys? It's embarrassing.
you know.
Did you not groom your beard today?
No, why?
Just all over the place.
It's what?
Just all over the place.
What do you mean it's all over the place?
I'm just
It's all over the place.
You know, I got a lot of feedback on you saying that Jimmy Johnson had a huge cack last week.
Well, that's
Everyone was
what
a
he
big
does.
fan. What he just
He eats those
bangs for a
pills to
living.
make his cack big. What? That's what he does. What were the extends or whatever it is? Extendo. That's what he does.
dick pump.
He's fucking swinging with the fucking bat.
There's a title for this episode: "Swinging with a Bat."
Swinging with the bat. That's what he's doing.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
that's what he does. This is what he's done since he's retired. He does a little, the analyst stuff, and then
Eats penis pills.
he's evidently got a huge cack. I don't know that for sure, but it's, rumor has it.
The way you're saying
Rumor
it,
has
seems like
it.
you know for sure.
But anyway,
Anyway,
I think Jerry needs to apologize to Jimmy. Bring Jimmy in. Let him be the GM. Let him run the team. Jerry needs to stay the fuck out of the team.
what if they brought Tony Romo in to coach?
I don't see that happening because he thinks he's an analysis guy now. He's like the best. Him and Joe Buck are like the best guys around.
Joe
That is absolutely fucking putrid.
Human hand jobs.
Joe
both
go
of them.
butt.
I
fucking
cannot
stuff.
stand him.
Anyway,
I'd rather see bring Troy Aikman in. Let him be the GM. Let these. He needs to back up. We know he loves his team. We know he wants to win. But Jerry, you need to find a fucking coach. Get rid of him. Get a real fucking GM in there. They can get a fucking GM in there. They can turn around this debacle that's been going on since the fucking 90s.
yeah.
It's been a debacle. He is not a good GM. He's not even close. I mean, come on, dude. You're about as successful as the fucking Lions are right now. Every year on paper, he has the best team in football, and every year they fail to do anything. And he needs to step back a little bit and let other people that have been in this game a long time, let them bring a guy in to run the show. He doesn't need to do it. You don't see fucking Robert Kraft out there fucking choosing fucking making plays
No.
and drafting guys. You don't
Robert
see him
Kraft
doing that.
just let Belichick ruin his team for him.
Well, it
Anyways,
doesn't matter. You know what? Say what you want to say. They're the most successful team probably in NFL history.
I agree with that. I agree.
Just because of the longevity of what they had there.
No, it's because they had the best quarterback ever, and when he left, everything went to shit.
that's-
But
Anyway, I'm not going to go there.
anyways,
But they had the best coach and the best run team for well over 15 years.
before we end today, I have to know if you have made any changes to your Super Bowl favorite at this point.
No.
So your pick to win the Super Bowl is
Go ahead.
still,
Go ahead.
who is it?
Who did I say?
Buffalo.
Did I say Buffalo?
You said Buffalo.
I said Buffalo. To win I said Buffalo to win the Super Bowl? Are you sure about that?
That's what I had in my notes.
I don't know. I like
'Cause,
Philly.
hold on. You originally picked
I like
Tampa.
Philly.
You originally said Tampa so that Brady would just fucking leave.
No, I said I wish he would win so he'd go fucking away.
Correct.
That's what I said, word
And
for
then
word.
you said,
Just
oh,
go away. Nobody
said-
likes you.
You said, oh, it'll probably be Buffalo. So right now,
right.
going into week 3.
All right, here's my pick for the Super Bowl. For the win? Or you want my
win
actual
the
pick
Super
for the
Bowl.
Super Bowl?
No, to win this, your Super Bowl champion favorite.
My Super Bowl champion favorite, believe it or not, are the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're fucking high. Bruce?
Okay.
You know, I still want to stick with the Chargers, but they have to pull it the fuck together.
Mine is the Philadelphia Eagles, and they'll
think
prove
this
that
year?
They'll prove that
You
easily.
think this year?
I think this year. I think they're good enough to
But
do
see,
it.
hold on. I asked you last week. Do you think Philly could go into Tampa Bay
And beat
them?
Tampa Bay? Yes, I do.
Wow.
I think Philadelphia, if they were playing Tampa this week, they would go in there and beat them.
Yes, this week. This week. Yeah.
Well, am I wrong?
Yeah, no,
am I
you're
wrong?
right.
Thank you.
You're right.
Thank
This
you.
week, I agree.
If they were the ones going in there instead of fucking Green Bay,
yeah,
they would hand Tom Brady his ass
I agree with that.
Yeah.
This week.
this week.
This week.
Right.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Obviously, my
They're my choice out of the NFC. I think it's going to be between them and Tampa to play for the championship in the NFC. You can write that down. Hey, scratch it on your little fucking notepad over there. Philly will play Tampa for the NFC championship.
Tampa Bay will win the Super Bowl. And that is it for another week.
Anyway.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
The juice. The juice.
If you haven't yet, please follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tipballs, TikTok at Tipballs Podcast. If you're listening to us, make sure to subscribe and watch us on YouTube. And if you're watching,
Hold on. Shout out to Aaron Hickman. Shout out. He's one of the listeners. He's a good friend of the show. Go ahead.
shout out to Aaron.
Shout out to AA Ron.
And if you're watching us, make sure you are listening as well on Spotify or Apple Music.